Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about Rival Turf on the SNES. Okay, let's get this one out of the way. This is the story of the game, which you're not going to find in the US version. So, Flack, his girlfriend, gets kidnapped by a street gang, and he convinces Nelson, who is supposed to be a police officer, to help him get his girlfriend back. Unfortunately, none of that is in the US release of the game because, for reasons known only to Jalico, the entire storyline was stripped out of this one. You don't even get a cutscene for it. You get nothing that explains why you're actually doing these things. You're just given a couple of guys who are beating people up. So you play as this guy like Nelson, who's just power bombing people all over the frickin' street. And yeah, it's kind of weird. It feels very strange because there is no story. It just starts up and you're playing the game. After you go to the start menu, you start playing the game, and there's no real explanation for why you're doing things, why you're going around the country, what's happening. It's kind of annoying. So this is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and it's the first game in the Beat Rush series. You wouldn't know that unless you really looked it up, and I'm pretty sure back in the early 90s, you would have absolutely no idea what's going on here unless you had the manual. So if you just rented this game and the manual happened to be, destroyed by whatever, or just stolen by whoever rented the game before you, you wouldn't really know what you're doing or why you're doing it. You're just beating up random people that don't really look like they belong in this world. Or maybe they do, and you're the weird one. I actually did not really like this game very much, especially because it felt like the hit detection was weird. It just did not play that well. The enemies seemed to just take forever to beat up. It never felt like I was really in range to do anything, at least when I was playing as Flack. When I started playing as Nelson, the game got a lot better, because it just kind of felt like I could actually hit the enemies. It's kind of strange, though. It's hard to really explain, but it just felt a little crappy, like really kind of sluggish and whatnot. The thing that really annoyed me was just how you walk along and you kind of snap on to these different spots where you have to fight the enemies. It's really weird. Like, you'll walk along, the enemies will pop up, the screen will lock, and then in order to fight the enemies, it really feels like it almost snaps on to where you are. Like, they'll move directly in front of you, and you may or may not be able to actually hit them, depending on how close you are, but it feels like you need to be at the exact right spot to hit these guys. It's kind of crappy. You do have a few items that you can use, so, like in Streets of Rage or in Final Fight, you get the bottles, you get the bottles, the baseball bats, the knives, that sort of thing, the samurai swords. Well, here you kind of get those, but they're all single-use weapons. So you pick up a knife and then you immediately throw it and it's just gone. And yeah. Or you find a rock, you pick it up, throw it, and then that's the end of it. So you better be really good at aiming. Otherwise, those weapons are just completely gone. The other thing that I noticed that was kind of weird, there are no real bosses here. Like, it was strange. You would just go to the end, beat up the number of people that you have to deal with, and that's the end of it. Then you just move on to the next section. And because they cut out all the story, you don't really know why. You're just going from one place to another, beating people up, and nothing's really explained. The enemies get reused quite a bit. Even the palette swaps, they still reuse a lot of people. This is one of those beat 'em ups where it feels like it should be fun. Like you're doing a lot of the stuff you would do in something like Streets of Rage or Final Fight or in any other beat 'em up, but this one just kind of feels sluggish and it just doesn't play as well as other ones. I really can't recommend this one at all. I think it looks good. I really do think that the game looks pretty good, especially for 1992. They give you these little cutscenes where you go to a different location, but you're not really sure why you're going to these other locations. And that kind of falls back to the storyline again, but whatever. The backgrounds all look pretty good. It can be a little hard to tell where you're supposed to stand to pick stuff up, and lining up your punches and kicks is a little difficult to do, just because it's kind of hard to tell where you are compared to the enemies. But that being said, everything looks really good. The sprites are not that detailed. It kind of just looks like things blend together a little bit. But that's probably just because it's 1992 and, well, probably 1991 when this game was made. It still looks good enough for the time. It just doesn't look as good as some other games. So it's not the greatest game in the world. Rival Turf is, it is what it is. It's a relatively early beat 'em up that I think they just kind of screwed the thing up when they brought it over to the US, because they didn't leave it in the series that it should have been in. So now if you're collecting these, you're finding games like Rival Turf, you find Brawl Brothers, and then you find the Peacekeepers, and you probably won't know that these are all connected because they stripped the entire storyline out. It really, really sucks. I wish they had left the story in and they had left the games relatively unchanged, but oh well. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.